Manuelito, the unyielding Navajo leader, who defied the long walk in the red canyons and broad mesas of the American Southwest, where the wind carries stories from one generation to the next. The name Manuelito is spoken with reverence and pride. A leader who stood tall when his people's world was crashing down, Manuelito's life is a testament to resistance, resilience, and the unwavering spirit of the Navajo, or Diné, nation. His story, forged in the fires of injustice and perseverance, continues to echo through the land he fought so fiercely to protect. Shadows over the homeland. The mid-1800s were a time of unimaginable hardship for the Navajo people. The U.S. government, driven by a policy of westward expansion, sought to corral the Diné onto the Bosque Redondo reservation, a barren and inhospitable patch of land far from their ancestral home. The Diné, who had lived for centuries in harmony with the harsh but beautiful landscapes of what is now Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah, were suddenly branded as obstacles to progress. Manuelito, born around 1818 near Bear Spring, Tohajili, grew to be a leader known for his keen mind and courage. He had always been a protector of the land, the sheep, and the people. But as soldiers and settlers pushed ever closer, and as raids and reprisals became frequent, his role as a leader would be tested as never before. The War for the Land. When the U.S. Army under Colonel Kit Carson began a scorched earth campaign against the Navajo, the devastation was swift and total. Troops swept through the canyons and mesas, burning hogans, homes, destroying precious cornfields and slaughtering livestock, the very lifeblood of the Diné. The campaign was meant to break the Navajo spirit, to force them into submission and onto the distant Bosque Redondo reservation south of Santa Fe. But Manuelito was not one to bow to force. As many Navajo surrendered, resigned to the hopelessness of their situation, Manuelito rallied thousands who refused to yield. He led men, women, and children into the rugged strongholds of the Chusca and Lucachucay mountains, using the land's natural defenses to wage a guerrilla war against the invaders. His strategy was one of survival: evade, resist, and endure. The long walk, a people forced to move. Despite their courage and cunning, the odds were overwhelming. By 1864, with crops raised and food stores gone, starvation loomed. 2/3 of the Navajo people had already been forced to surrender, beginning what would be called the Long Walk, a brutal 300-mile forced march to Bosque Redondo. The journey was marked by exhaustion, death, and despair. Families were torn apart. Many perished along the way or at the desolate reservation. For a time, Manuelito and his band continued to resist, refusing to abandon their homeland. But facing the relentless destruction wrought by Kit Carson's troops, and with his people starving, Manuelito was left with no choice. He too surrendered and was forced to join the survivors at Bosque Redondo. Refusing to be broken life at the reservation was a daily struggle. The land was poor, water was scarce, and disease was rampant. But even at Bosque Redondo, Manuelito's leadership shone. Rather than accept defeat, he became a voice for dignity and justice, urging his people to maintain their traditions and hope for a return home. When the U.S. government sent delegations to negotiate with Navajo leaders, Manuelito emerged as a powerful spokesperson. In 1868, he and others traveled east to Washington, D.C., where Manuelito's imposing presence and eloquence made an indelible impression. He petitioned for the right of his people to return to their ancestral lands, arguing that no other place could sustain their way of life. A legacy of homecoming and hope. Manuelito's efforts bore fruit. Against the odds, the U.S. government agreed to a new treaty, one that allowed the Navajo to leave Bosque Redondo and return to a reservation within their homeland. This victory was more than a political triumph. It was a spiritual homecoming. Families rebuilt their homes, restocked their flocks, and rekindled the deep connection to the land that remains at the heart of Diné identity. In his later years, Manuelito continued to lead and inspire. He advocated for education and the welfare of his people, believing that the Navajo could adapt to a changing world without losing their soul. He died in 1893, but his legacy lives on in every story shared around a family fire, every sheep herded across the mesas, and every child who learns the value of resilience. Manuelito's life reminds us that true leadership is measured not only by victories in battle, but by the courage to defend what truly matters: people, culture, and home. In the red earth and endless sky of Navajo country, his spirit endures, a beacon for all who face injustice and refuse to be moved.